Here we are, back again, bigger than life, twice as ugly. The Donzo and Deez Show, back here on Cities 92.9, the news and talk, Bloomington Normal. I'm Donzo.
I'm Deez.
And we are the red-headed stepchild of 92.9 for a reason. As promised on the second hour, we have the gorgeous, smart, quick-witted, and funny as hell comedian joining us, Chrissy Mayer.
Oh my gosh, guys, it's so great to be here.
Welcome.
I love Illinois.
And there's a well, that's one of us, because
Right.
we love Illinois, but you're from New York, right?
I am. I'm currently in the hellhole that is New York, but I live in a suburb a good 45 minutes away, so I'm handling it.
See, a lot of people think the same thing about Illinois, that we're all screwed up here, but that is not the case necessarily. We're from Central Illinois, and there's a lot of Kev, you'd agree there's a lot of conservative. Deez, what do you think?
In our area, for the most part, yeah, this particular city is a little more what we would call purple, but we're farm country, so it's a lot more conservative than liberal.
I've done shows in Chicago and I've done shows in McHenry. There's a venue called the Vixen in McHenry that I love. That seems like a good area.
Yeah, but you're still up by Chicago, though, so it's kind of like too close for me. But hey, the reason that we played AC/DC, She's Got Balls, to open this thing up. Look, and I got to say, I'm glad she's streaming in, because this studio is not big enough for her and her huge balls, because she has got to be, you have got to be the queen of zero F's given.
I would tuck them in for you to make room. I would do a full tuck moment. I would get the Target bathing suit. I would do all the tucking. Yeah.
And we're going to talk about that. We got a lot of stuff to talk about as well. Of course, she's a host of the Chrissie Mayr podcast. That's called Simpcast, right?
Yeah, I have a bunch of different shows. I have a show called Simpcast on Sundays, 9 p.m. Eastern on my YouTube channel. Chrissie Mayr podcast is where I'll do like one-on-one interviews. It's a little sometimes more serious. Sometimes I'll have on a comedian. And then I have a show on Compound Media called The Wet Spot on Mondays at 7 p.m. Eastern. And then I'm also on Fridays on a show called Friday Night Tights, 4 p.m. Eastern on Nerdrotic's YouTube channel. So I'm all over the place.
You're a very busy woman. And so what do Deez and I have to do to guest on this Wet Spot thing?
Ooh, and just be in New York and have a pulse. Those are my only requirements.
Let's go to the airport.
All right.
Well, anyway, we're beating a dead horse with this. And if we wouldn't mind pulling up and getting that clip ready of you at the Hyena. And I wouldn't say this is my first exposure to you, Chrissy. I saw you with Rob Schmidt tonight. You guys were talking about Jen Psaki. And
yes.
I saw this thing at the Hyena. I'm like, she's familiar to me. And I started looking that up and found it. And like I said, it's beating a dead horse. But this goes back to the May 7th incident, if I'm correct, at the Hyena Comedy Club in Dallas. Before we play this clip for everybody to hear it, you really pissed off a lot of people with this. Has this been a blessing for you?
I really stepped in it. Yeah. If I look back at my calendar, I feel like it just happened. But this was Saturday, May 6th. This was the very last show. We had 4 shows that weekend at Hyenas in Dallas, a club that I love, that I've gone to, that performed at multiple times. Will definitely be back. I love everybody there. And the week before, we were in Vegas and did a sold out show at a venue called The Space. So we were just having a really great time. It was the last show, and I've been heckled. I mean, and I actually like audience interaction. I like asking people questions. I like random outbursts. Every comedian is different. Some comedians will have you removed the first time you yell something out. I'm not about that. I think it's my job as a comedian. If you're not enjoying yourself, it's my job to charm you or include you or just speak to you in a way that, like, I kind of want to, like, break you down like a glow stick and shake you up. So anytime I encounter a difficult audience member, I just want to get to know you, because there's only a couple different types of hecklers. It's like like a drunk woman heckler who's trying to make it about her, or usually a dude who thinks he's funnier than what I'm saying and that I need help. Or there's like this third type of heckler, which is like the social justice warrior, like just triggered by something
which is what
that
you got
I said
here.
That's not very politically correct. So what we had at Dallas was the third kind of heckler, and I'm sure there's more kinds, but that's just for me the most common. I wasn't expecting it at all, and I look back at that crowd interaction, like that was a pretty typical, like I wasn't saying anything too crazy at all. It was a riff. I hadn't really planned to talk about Dylan Mulvaney that day, but since my host Keanu Thompson kind of looks like Dylan, like we were joking all week, like, oh, what day of girlhood is Keanu on? Because she's kind of flat chested and like she loves it. She embraces the comparison. And it wasn't until a man yelled out, I was like, why doesn't where are the boobs? Where are the boobs on Dylan? Come on. It's like you have all the money and time in the world, access to the best doctors. You're a millionaire at this point. Everyone loves you and knows you, I guess. And but why no boobs? Because I feel like that's the most important part of being a gal. And some guy yells out, because he's a man. And I just was kind of yes-anding him. I was like, yeah, because he's a man. And this woman could not handle that someone had a difference of opinion. She thought her point of view was so important that it was worth interrupting the show for. And the arrogance of, she represents like, I guess, a pretty important group of our society. They're just not challenged. Nobody in their friend group or work or school is challenging them. So for her, like, her views haven't been challenged until she's live at a comedy show. And, you know, you can't just swipe off the page. You can't just turn your phone off. You know, you're here in person, your views are being challenged, and you're either going to run out or you're going to like make a scene.
Well, they're the same people that like to troll on Facebook and social media and all this other garbage. Kev, can we pull that clip up real quick for the audience? Get them the actual picture of what happened there.
About like Dylan Mulvaney. You guys familiar? 365 days. What? Like
we could reenact it. I'll be Dylan.
That's day one, okay? If I'm transitioning to a dude, day one I'm getting a cock. And I'm getting the biggest one you can find. Like go into the back room, get me something black, okay? I have something to prove here. Why no tits for Dylan? I don't understand. Because he's a man. Yeah, he can go tomorrow. Uh-oh. We have one of those. No, it's all good. We can all have different beliefs. It's okay. Some of us can believe in reality and some of us can't. Coexist. This is America. We should have different beliefs. It's all good. It's all good. It's all good. But like tomorrow, Dylan could wake up.
Anyway, getting back to the show here, Chrissy, got a question for you. I've been pretty good. I'm almost 40, and I'm pretty good about reading people. Like I don't want to judge a book by its cover, okay? But I can usually tell by facial expressions and how the room is going. You know, kind of know your audience. Were these gals? Were you getting a vibe off them that they weren't going to find this funny, or was there any actions before this happened?
No, not at all. And I was the headliner, so I was the last one to get up there. And on this show was Alex Stein, who is more viral than me, more generally hated by leftists. So I'm surprised they didn't make a scene when he was on stage. Lila Hart, who's also pretty based, same thing with Keanu. They hadn't said anything. I hadn't noticed them at all until the last 10-15 minutes of my set. I'm surprised I didn't even see them, and because of due to their size, I didn't even notice them until someone was like, "She's a woman," and I was like, "That's why I had that reaction, because I didn't even know they were there," and that's why I was like, "Oh, okay, wow, we got one of those. All right." Like I just had no clue that I would attract these type of land whales to my show.
When I saw this first pop up, it was on Fox News. Of course, I think that was the big mainstream media that carried it first.
Yeah, I saw it on Twitter.
I looked this up, and then you started going after them about harpooning them, and they're probably going to want their tusks. And I'm just like, I told Deez, I said, we got to get this guy on the show. And
I think we need to blame the random guy that shouted out, "She's a man."
Yes, it's all his fault.
Yeah, I mean, honestly,
find this man.
You wouldn't have
him.
Yeah, you wouldn't have carried on what he said, and I think they probably would have sat there and grazed a little more.
Oh, exactly. I'm sure I would have triggered them had he not interrupted me, because of what I was going to say. I was like, yeah, Dylan doesn't have tits. Like tomorrow he could just go back to being a dude with a tight face. Like there's no commitment. I need to see something. Like you're not And it's just, Dylan is a good example of how you don't really need to commit to anything. You can just say you're anything, and no one gets to question anything you say anymore, and you never get criticized, and you get all special treatment.
You are, Chrissy, 100% correct. And I was talking to Deez about this, and we piss off a lot of people on this show.
We try. Yes.
Okay, we try. I was talking to him about this. I said, this whole transgender thing, celebrating Dylan Mulvaney's 365 days of girlhood, he thinks he's a 13-year-old girl, is no different than I've got kind of longer hair, just because I don't cut it. I'm just lazy. I'm not making a statement. I got kind of longer hair. I told him it's no different than if I put on a dress right now as I am and go into a women's restroom. You can't say anything to me. If I identify as a woman this minute and I don't the next, you can't argue with me on that. And I agree. It's BS.
Wasn't there a congressman who came out and said he was identifying as like a lesbian woman of color? I can't remember his name.
Native American lesbian woman of color, yes, but he was doing it to screw with
state.
people.
I believe it was like somebody in a state Congress or something like that. Or, yeah, that was just a few weeks ago. Yeah, a lesbian, what is Native American person of color?
But this dude
transgender.
This dude was playing it, but hey, that's fine. He can do it too.
Yeah.
How can you prove how somebody feels? Either way, one thing I want to talk about that I didn't know this until I listened to the Simpcast was you thought one of the scrunts, the fat chicks, whatever, you thought that they actually said "fuck a transphobe," like told you to go screw a transphobe. Is that
right?
correct?
That's what I thought they might have said at first, because it sounded like "fuck a transphobe," and I was like, I thought about my fiance, and I was like, perhaps I already am.
Well, yes, that's a tall order, but I can pull it off, ladies.
Yes, no complaints here. I feel like everyone I've ever been with is probably one, so it's all good.
Now,
yeah,
I know that you don't tour as much anymore because of all the podcasts and everything. But who would you say are your biggest comedic influences?
Oh, I would say that it does depend. Like in some ways, like I don't tour as much, but then like in some ways I'm selling out more shows than I was a couple years ago. But comedic influences, I think Jim Breuer is one of my all-time favorites.
Yes.
I think he's an absolute genius when it comes to physical comedy and just being like, every time I watch him, it reminds me like, yes, be silly, be goofy on stage, use your body, like use every tool you have. Well, not every tool. Not every tool. But I love, and then like some of my peers honestly make me laugh the hardest, like Tyler Fisher or Doug Stanhope.
I love Stanhope.
Yeah, he's great.
You were talking about the hecklers. I made the grave error of taking a very intoxicated female to a Doug Stanhope show.
Oh, okay. Well, I can't talk about that stuff.
And he handled it. He was just roasting her left and right, but she was so far gone that she just kept trying to think that she was funny. And finally they ended up removing her. Well, before she left, she threw her phone number onto the stage.
Oh, wow. Wait, and she was your date?
Not kind of a friend.
Look at him.
Yeah, no. I used to work in the adult
you gotta
industry.
Take that bandana off.
I used to work in the adult industry as a DJ, and she was a dancer, and we were kind of friends. She was one of those people that was really cool to hang out with until you got her drunk. But anyway, so Doug Stanhope, he was doing this show in Peoria, Illinois at a comedy club called the Jukebox. Well, so happens that right after that show, he recorded an episode of his podcast, and half of it was about that incident. And they called her. They called her during the show and left this long voicemail. It was absolutely hilarious.
So funny.
Yeah.
So why did she give him her phone number? Was she looking for more customers?
She was just a drunk idiot. She didn't. Yeah, she didn't even remember anything. She asked me why she had a long voicemail from like 8 dudes the next night. And,
Dude, if that's odd to give your phone number when you're drunk, you guys don't want to know what I do when I'm drunk.
No,
okay?
I do know what you do when you're drunk.
Oh yeah, I do that thing where I shake it and
like,
come into the house.
Like the monkey, yeah.
Yeah, like that thing. Hey, I got a question, Chrissy. With all this backlash, conservatism in comedy, conservatism in music, we talk Kid Rock, we talk the Nuge, all these people getting canceled. Just honestly for our listeners, have you ever sat down and just thought, I need to keep this conservative stuff to a lower level. Have you ever thought that, or have you just said, I don't care at
never.
all?
And I hate that anybody who pushes up against the mainstream, it gets considered to be conservative, because like similar to our bandana friend here, I have a lot of friends that are porn stars. I have friends that do OnlyFans.
But that's a very conservative industry, isn't it, actually? And people don't know that?
Probably not. I think I'm
was.
just a normal person, kind of in the middle. And I guess as a normal person, as they get older, yeah, you do go more right or conservative on certain issues. Like, I don't know, giving $114 billion to the Ukraine before we fix problems that we have here, or
there you go.
Know, like our borders, things like that. Like, these don't seem like crazy, outrageous views to have. But no, you say, you know, that Dylan Mulvaney is a man and you get considered part of the alt-right. Well, if that's all it takes, then I guess I'm on the alt-right. If you just say true things, you're a MAGA comedian. Like,
yeah,
I don't know.
I'm
whatever.
pretty much the same in that when I was growing up and into my 20s, I always kind of was libertarian because I still believed in, you know, gun rights and things like that, but I definitely leaned further left. But as I've gotten older and society has gotten crazier, I find the needle going the other way.
You start taking over that mindset of Clint Eastwood and Gran Torino. Get off my lawn.
Yeah.
You know, you just start getting pissed off with all this stuff. And another thing on your podcast you guys were talking about, Chrissy, I think it's one from 2 days ago. I listened to it while I was at work, my real job. Anyway, one thing you guys were talking about was just that, new age liberals versus old liberals. And the difference is, like, I can't remember her name. It was kind of hard to decipher while I was at work. She was saying she was a liberal, but she's not one of these new age lefties. She's classic liberal that believes in everybody's rights and stuff like that. And I think it's one of those things that we talk about. Conservatism became a dirty word there for a while, but you're getting thrown in this pack with the conservatives anyway. If you just have common sense. Look, 10 years ago, nobody gave a shit about a bottle of pancake syrup.
Right.
Nobody went to, not even the farthest left liberal went to IHOP and had a meltdown.
Or a box of rice.
Or a box of rice because Aunt Jemima was on it. Nobody cared until they were told to care. Nobody gets worked up until they're told to get worked up. And then that creates a 50-50. Well, we can't take back over our country when we're fighting all the time.
Yeah.
I don't know. Your thoughts on that?
Oh my gosh. Did you see what happened with the LA Dodgers?
I got that pulled up.
Oh my God. Okay. So they, at first, I guess they're still going to try to have this pride event. They at first invited, this drag group that specifically, I think their creative goal is to make fun of Christians, Catholics, because their group is called the Sisters of Permanent Regret or something like that.
I'm looking at this right now, Chrissy. It's the Sisters of Perpetual Indulgence.
Perpetual Indulgence. And they're there to mock Catholicism, Christianity, the whole thing. So then the Dodgers disinvited them, got insane backlash. That's where you would, have a spine and say, no, we're not inviting this group because this, and then they caved and then re-invited them back to their game or to their festival or whatever. Because I think they were worried that all these other pride or gay groups were pulling out of, I don't know, I guess this event. But oh man, it's just incredibly cowardly. These guys are completely spineless. This is why you can't apologize. You can't give an inch. The woke mob not only wants you to apologize, but take back what you said. And then they want you to never work again in the case of comedians. But with the Dodgers, it's like, yeah, you're under the boot of the woke mob. They will never be happy. And even in apologizing and taking this group back, they're not going to be satisfied with that. They're going to be like, what else do you have to do to make it up to us?
That's more of a victory, okay, for this, whatever you want to call it, movement. The fact that they came out and apologized, then actually inviting them there in the first place. Because they see now, all they got to do is put their boot on somebody's neck and they squirm like a little worm and they apologize and they bring them back in.
You can't apologize ever, ever, ever.
No, ever.
It's never gonna work. It's not gonna get you what you want. It's not gonna get them what they want. And that's true for, I don't know. I think, well, it's easy for me to say, like, a joke at work, don't apologize for it. But I'm somebody who lost my job because I wouldn't get vaccinated. So who am I to tell you what to do at your job? But I just don't think when it comes to comedy, you know, and free speech. Like, just don't apologize for your views, because guess what? Like, more people agree with you than you think. And that's what this whole like Heckler moment has taught me, is like, I'm kind of the average person here.
You are.
It's just that the culture has made us feel like having average views makes you alt right, and it'll get you put on some kind of list, or you can't go to a school board meeting upset that there's gay books in your kid's school. Like, the culture makes you want to think that your very real concerns are extreme.
Is the vaccination thing still a big issue as far as getting shows?
No, for New York, you know, that lifted, I guess, last summer. I think I went maybe a year without performing anywhere, because not anywhere in New York, because once de Blasio put the mandates down, I was like, nah, F this. Like, I guess I'm done performing in New York, because I'm not going to get it, and I'm not going to make my fans get it to come see me. There's already enough pressure on people to get this thing. Right. So I was like, I guess I'm on the road now. Like, I guess I'm just going to do Florida and Texas and wherever they'll have me. But now they've lifted all that, and you can get into anywhere. You don't need to show proof of anything. Not on, you know, any of these TV stations. Not on like Sirius XM or, you know.
Well, not only that, did you see where these sons of bitches now came? The mRNA vaccine. They're now recommending that anybody between the ages of 5 and 65 only get one. They
and no boosters.
And no boosters. So
interesting how they quietly updated their guidance on that.
Yeah, when it was convenient for them, just like Fauci and the mask. I mean, just a bunch of BS we've had to been put through for, I don't know, the past. It's been longer than 4 years, but it feels like 4 years is when this feels like really 40 years. Bad.
It aged. I feel like the last 3 years has turned us all into like surly 75-year-old men. We're all like, like I turned into my dad within a period of 3 years of like, oh wow, I don't trust anybody. And
it's the whole Gran Torino thing, and we covered something. Not sure if you're familiar with it, but we covered it. We got it out there as soon as it broke. There's an ad from Miller Lite. Came out on March 7th. So it came out before the whole Dylan Mulvaney thing broke. We all agreed at the station here. We kind of passed it around and looked at it. I actually kind of liked it. I didn't like a couple aspects of it, but overall I thought it was good. Kev, can you pull that up?
Yeah, give me like a minute and I can have that.
That's fine. Have you seen this, what we're talking about?
Is it similar to
Alana Glazer is the star of it?
Oh, yes, I did see this when she's talking about, you know, actually women are responsible for brewing beer. And like,
we take the bad shit and turn it into good shit.
Now, the reason I like this, we're going to pull it up so the listeners can hear it. You've heard it. I've heard it. We'll pull it up for them though. The reason I like this was it's refreshing this day and age to see a company, no matter how in your face it is, celebrating real women. I mean, in that commercial, I didn't see any chicks with dicks. Did you, Dan?
No, I wasn't looking that hard, but
I mean, it was.
I love the old-fashioned women, the one without dicks.
Yeah,
yeah, I like.
Call me crazy, but
I like my coffee like I like my women, without dicks.
Without
no
a dick
tripods,
in it.
thank you.
That's right, without a dick in it. So we're gonna put. You ready, Kev?
Yeah, it should be.
Known fact: women were among the very first to brew beer ever. From Mesopotamia to the Middle Ages to colonial America, women were the ones doing the brewing. Centuries later, how did the industry pay homage to the founding mothers of beer? They put us in bikinis. Wow.
I like that.
Sold a lot of beer.
Yeah, it did.
Yeah.
Look at this wild. It's time beer made it up to women. So today, Miller Lite is on a mission to clean up not just their but the whole beer industry.
So hypocritical.
Miller Lite has been scouring the internet for all this and buying it back so that they can turn it into good for women brewers. Literally, good How, you ask? Ladies, take it away.
First, we turn the bad into compost. Then we feed compost to worms. Push out beautiful.
Yeah,
all right.
Perfect.
So I think we got it. So like I said, my whole thing with that, it was this day and age is refreshing to see a company actually celebrate women, whether we agree with what they're saying about the bikinis or not. That never bothered me. And being a young man that grew up in that day, that sold beer because you're coming into a beer drinking age. Maybe you wanted Bud Light, Miller Lite, and then you see these gals up there in bikinis and their boobies hanging out.
Well, like I said,
Miller Lite.
Beer was always known more of a man's drink anyway.
Right.
It was definitely, you know, that was their target audience.
Brand is it's cold, it's there, it's Miller Lite. You know what I mean? It's easy, it's fun, just like these women. You know, if you want like a fancy expensive beer. You'll do something artisanal. I don't know. And this was before the days of like where the craft beer and the IPAs, all that took off. And this was just like, yeah, it was like just this is Americana. And in fact, the girl in that ad, Alana Glazer, the actress, she's from Broad City. This particularly makes her look hypocritical because I'm sure you guys have seen this online. There's many examples of her in a bra, in a bathing suit, like definitely using her sexuality in various shows that she's been on. And I don't know if she protested against that. I'm
she
sure
was pretty hoish in Broad City. Even
this is what so many of these female celebrities do. They do what they need to do to get famous, and when they're famous and a household name, well, then they kind of pull up the ladder behind them, and then they chastise other women for using their bodies and their sexuality or just having fun with themselves. They go, "Oh no, you're wrong."
For you, Amy Schumer.
Yeah,
right.
Well, how do you feel about, all these women come out now that work at, in corporate places, and they come out 20 years after the fact and they want to file sexual harassment charges because they slept with the boss to move up? What are your thoughts on that? Is that one of those, hey, she made the decision to do that? Or are you on the side that this is a cultural issue that we've created where this is the only way for a woman to get ahead?
Yeah, I think it's like if you wanted to sleep with your boss, like nobody forced you. I would say in a very rare instance, if there's some sort of like brutal attack or something like that, sure. But that's extremely rare. Like women are smart. They know what is going to help them get ahead. They know that like flirting with a boss or a coworker might help them eventually get a raise in more ways than one, if you know what I'm saying. And absolutely. I just think it's right. Once they get situated and have more money and have more stability, well, then they can be like, oh, well, I was taken advantage of. It's like, no, in most cases you weren't. You knew what you were doing. You understand how men operate. And I don't think it's fair to take advantage of that to seem like you're into it at the time and then later on be like, oh, I was taken advantage of. It's like, girl, no, you were into that.
I couldn't.
You wore matching underwear to work for a reason, okay?
And you shaved downstairs. We knew what you were up to, you hussy.
Yeah.
I can't get over this Harvey Weinstein thing. These women that claim that they went to his hotel room. Why the hell did you go to Harvey? And then
why
you're going
would
to
you
tell
do
me
that
at 2 a.m.
You're going to tell me Harvey Weinstein seduced you? How could he seduce it? You knew what you were doing. You knew you were getting a film out of it. It's like this whole thing with Stormy Daniels and Donald Trump. Like Stormy Daniels didn't know what the hell was going on, if that's the fact.
Yeah, it's the deal. And exactly. I'm sure you weren't having a business meeting in Harvey Weinstein's hotel room at 2 a.m. Like this. And you see this in comedy too. You just have to be smart and not put yourself in a position where bad things can happen to you or where things can happen to you that you're not prepared for. Just don't be dumb, like.
Oh, agreed. Absolutely. And I've got a question for you. I was doing some research. Okay. I try to drink and research things. And I wanted to find out as much about you as I could in the short amount of time between you agreed to come on and right now. It says, and this is Wikipedia, and I don't want to do this.
Oh no, not Wikipedia.
Yes.
Oh God.
Oh no, Wikipedia. Yeah, it's got to be true if it's on Wikipedia. So two things I gleaned off Wikipedia that I thought were interesting. It says, while you were in college, you had an internship with the television show Late Night with Conan O'Brien.
That's true.
Okay, that is true. Yeah. Now, the next one really gets me. And if it's true, I want to hear the story behind this. It says that you have, you have not seen the new Miller Lite commercial. That was the wrong thing. It says that you have been a victim of swatting twice.
Yeah, I got swatted twice.
So what were the circumstances? I mean, we're dying.
I had on a guest on my podcast. And actually, I think they're former radio guys. Their show is called the Steel Toe Morning Show. I think they are out of Minnesota. And this is just simply what happened. Like I had them on my morning show and they had a guest, like a viewer of their show that doesn't like them. So swatted the Steel Toe guys, Aaron and April Imholt. Then they swatted me for having them on my show, not even physically in person, just over a computer like we're doing now. And then they ended up swatting Bob Levy, who some might know from the Howard Stern show. They swatted him as well, Reverend Bob Levy, for having them on his show. And it's very upsetting. It's like and I know that this has happened to many other YouTubers. I think Tim Pool is like known for, he's been swatted like, I don't know, maybe 16, 20 times at this point.
You kidding me?
Jeremy the Quartering has been swatted. Like a lot of bigger YouTubers have been swatted, which I didn't think I was at that level yet. I didn't think I was at SWAT level. And but I guess I am. And it's just nerve-wracking because thank God somebody was there to open the door, because what happens is, this is like a horrible thing, but they'll basically, someone will call whatever police station that you're in and say, oh, there's an active shooter or there's something horrible going on at this address, go check it out. So the cops come to your house expecting the worst, and if you don't open the door, I think they're able to like break the door down with their guns drawn. Like, there have been instances of dogs that have been shot during swattings.
People have been killed during
people have been killed over this. It's nothing to mess around with. It's something you should be arrested for. And I think the person who did it was, and we found out later on that it was like a 14-year-old kid in West Virginia who ended up doing this. And the detective that I was speaking with, I think the second time they came in, because you start to get to know these guys pretty well, I guess, the cops, which is helped.
I have a question for you.
They said actually this happens often with kids, like some kid will beat another kid at a video game, and then that kid will swat them over it.
Yeah, there's a big Twitch streamer named Aiden that he's been swatted at least 6 or 7 times.
How bad is society that we have 13 and 14-year-old kids lose a video game, get their panties in a bunch, and then they have to call and have their buddies swatted for some other kid in some other state? It's disgusting.
I had a question for you, since you brought his name up, and you being a New Yorker, and if this is a line in the sand that you don't want to draw for reasons, I understand. But with Howard Stern, he, along with probably Bubba the Love Sponge, are two of the major reasons why I wanted to get into stuff like this. In fact, I'm wearing a Bubba shirt right now. What are your thoughts, or if any, your opinions on the change in Howard over, let's say, Howard 10 years and beyond, to the very woke leftist that he's become today?
It's hard to know if that's who he's been the whole time, and this is his true self coming out. It's the same reason why there's a lot of like emotion around like Amy Schumer that you mentioned, because you fall in love with a public person and they seem to have one personality, and then over the years they seem to completely change, and you're like, well, who was the real you? The person that we watched become famous and that we enjoyed for years, or the person that we're seeing now? So I think only those close to Howard, know him personally or have worked with him closely for years, like they would have a better sense of it than just a random fan listening. But it does seem to be like he just went safe, and he was like, well, I don't want to get canceled, and he kind of got bit by that Hollywood bug and got the hardy eyes and would rather just like kiss up to every celebrity and become almost like a politician level of influence rather than like a man of the people, especially saying the honest thing in the moment. Yeah. Very out of touch with the common person now, which is why people fell in love with him.
Hey, if you're just tuning in, you're listening to the Donzo and Deez Show on Cities 92.9, the news and talk of Bloomington Normal. We have comedian Chrissy Mayer here right now, and we've been talking about all kinds of things and Fooly Monkey Shines going on. If you're just tuning in, go back, get the podcast so you can hear it. She's a funny gal. She's a smart chick, and we're really honored to have her on the show. She's got a couple upcoming dates we want to get out there. She is going to be on July 8th at Tiff's in Morris Plains, New Jersey. August 9th, you can catch her at the Sandman Comedy Club in Richmond, Virginia. And August 11th, the Secret Group in Houston, Texas. I may need to take a Texas trip for that one.
Yeah, I'd love to go.
Maybe we should do that and come down and see you, and you can berate old Donzo and Deez at your show.
I would love to. Yes, and please wear a sleeveless shirt like you're wearing today.
Well, I can pull mine up. I got tattoos.
If I wear sleeves, that means that I'm going somewhere fancy.
Or someone's died.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. And the reason I have all this get up is because I really don't want friends and family to know I hang out with this guy too often.
Dude, you should be so honored to hang out with me. Hey, Chrissy, tell the listeners what you got besides those dates we just did. What's in the works for you? What are you doing? What are you looking forward to in the future? What do you got shaking out? I know you were just on with Eric Bowling yesterday.
Eric Bowling's great. Yeah. Hopefully I will become more of a regular at Newsmax. I'm going to be on Carl Higby's show on Wednesday, I think at 5 o'clock. I don't know if that's live or pre-taped. But yeah, you can always catch me every Monday on Compound Media. My show is called The Wet Spot. It is kind of like how Howard Stern used to be, where we have adult film stars and comedians on, and it's just like an anything goes situation. There's nudity, there's hot takes, everything.
Nice.
Something
what
for the whole
channel is
family.
We got
Compound
Deez's
Media,
attention here.
compoundmedia.com. And Sundays is my show called the Simpcast. It's a panel show with all women sort of similar to myself, 9 p.m. Eastern on my YouTube channel. And then Fridays, I'm on Nerdrotic's YouTube channel, which is, we do culture commentary, and it's a lot of disaffected nerds who are upset at what's happened to the wokeification of all our beloved franchises. And then I'm just sort of the token comedian chick. That's a great show. Yeah, I got these stand-up shows coming up. Go to ChrissyMayer.com. And if you want me to perform in your area, get on Twitter, tag the club, tag me, write them emails, because I don't have an agent or a manager because of my political beliefs, I think.
So,
or who knows? Maybe I'm just not funny enough. But
no, you're funny
get
as
the
hell.
word out.
I have
Thank
seen
you.
more of Chrissy Mayer in the past 2 days than I ever thought I would. I got a question. If we could set up something like, so we're going to try to get the jukebox to get you on, which is over in Peoria. There's still
I'll definitely reach out to Dan.
Reach out to him, get that going. I wouldn't mind if you're going to come all the way to this shithole. I wouldn't mind maybe seeing if we can get somebody locally. Kev, what do you think about putting something together? She can do a show. If she gets to the jukebox, she can do a show over here in this area.
I think honestly we should get a whole slate. I mean, like, so I know I have a contact with Dave Landau. I think we could get him here to go with you. Yeah. So get Dave, get you, maybe even Quarter Black would come here and they could do like a little bit of their sketch show live. We'd
even do some stand-up to open for her.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, we could do that. I think that needs to be done.
I get Joe Bob too from Turning Point USA. Joe Bob's pretty awesome too. So
yeah, right on. Hey, if we book it, will you come?
Of course.
Awesome. I almost turned that into a dirty joke, but you know we got to keep it clean.
I know, I almost did too, but I don't want to be untoward. I'm an engaged woman.
You are taken, which broke El Donzo's heart, but that's okay. Though. Maybe some other time.
I'll get you on the next marriage. Just hang
there
in
we
there.
Go. I told somebody she looks a lot like my second wife. They said, "How many times have you been married?" I said, "Once." Real quick.
That's funny. That's
funny.
I
try, you know. Hey, real quick, last thing. We're gonna wrap it up, and I want to wrap it up with this. Beating the dead horse. We talked about Dylan Mulvaney. The Bud Light sales have continued to tank. They're borderline giving this stuff away. Oof. They're giving $20 vouchers for a $20 24-pack of beer out in California.
Oh, wow.
Are you enjoying seeing this?
It's great. It is great because, well, I was upset to see, you know, I haven't been buying Nike ever since it was clear that they were with BLM, and I don't feel like that, you know, conservatives, you know, not buying from Nike anymore, I don't think makes as much of a dent, but conservatives or just non-woke people, regular people not buying Bud Light clearly makes a huge dent, because that was our target demographic to begin with. That Bud Light, you know, was drank by just all blue collar people. All people were drinking, you know, Bud Light, Coors Light. It's just a random, cheap beer to have around, and they really stepped in it by alienating their core demographic. And it is really nice to see just regular people making a difference. And who knows if that's what will happen to Target now that they have become so gay. And so they're not even that, they're just carrying children's clothing that say queer and trans people. Oh, it's like above, and it's really inappropriate. It's
from
like
Target to Target.
They couldn't be more gayer if their name was Gay Gayerson's, you know, clothing mart. Okay.
Yeah. You should change it to that.
I got a question. Okay. And this sounds pretty, I don't know, what's the word? Not professional, but I got to know. Okay. Because
34D, next question.
Okay. All righty then. Well, that's the end of the show. No, that's all I want to know. Your last name, is it Mayer or is it Meyer?
It's Mayer. So
Mayer.
It's like
I wanted to make
German. Sure. Yeah.
Okay.
You've been doing great.
I've heard different people say it, and I'm like, you know, maybe I'm going to piss her off, but that's what I think it is. So I'm just going to go for it. Deez, do you have anything left for the beautiful guest?
No, I hope you do come to the air at some point. We're definitely going to work on it. I appreciate you coming on.
Oh yeah, I'd love to.
You have a new fan in me.
And me as well. Me as well. Like I said,
even me. Even producer Kev.
There you go. And
oh wow,
we only give a damn what Kev thinks, so that's a pretty good deal. Want to thank you, Chrissy Mayer. You've been awesome. I hope you come back on, and I hope we can physically get you up here to make us laugh at some point.
Oh yeah, I would love to. Let's make it happen, boys.
All right, make her happen.
Do
Cabin.
something. Do some other controversial stuff so we can have you back soon.
I will. I'll have to. Yes, I'll have to keep making fun of trans people till I can get to Illinois.
There you go.
Somebody's got to do it, and Chrissy Mayer is a chick for the job. Thank you for coming on. This is the Donzo and Deez Show. We're out of here, baby. Catch you on the flip side.
See ya.
Bye.